So I finally did it. I built a window plug for this window. If you have a window that has a lot of noise coming through and you just want to stop the noise for if you're sleeping, then a window plug could be your solution because you're completely plugging the window. You won't be able to see anything through, of course. So you're essentially getting rid of the window, but you want it to be temporary. It's not that complicated. I built this window plug with a bunch of stuff that I already had at home and that you might also have at home. But I'll have links in the description below of everything I use in this video and what I also recommend. Now, first thing that you should do is measure your window and also build the window plug a little bit smaller than the casing because you want it to fit, but you don't want it to get stuck there. What you'll be adding is weather strip around the window plug to fill in that gap. So don't worry, if you have a little bit of a gap, we can fix that after. You don't want to have it too tight because then you won't have any space for your weather stripping, and the weather strip that you'll add around your window plug is basically what will seal the last crack around the window plug between that and the window casing. So this window is 34 by 30 and it is 8 inches deep. What's nice about this window frame is that it's deep. So if you don't have a deeper window frame like this one, then it might get a little bit tricky, but I'll show you ways on how to build it even with a thinner window frame. The material that you'll need to build your window plug is, of course, the wood to build your frame. The size that I'm using is 1 by 5 by 4. But if you don't have as big of a window frame, you can use something a little bit smaller like this. Also, some drywall. I see that the drywall that I bought was well kept. And also some insulation. Now, the type of insulation that I'm using is a little bit thinner with a backing on it. The reason why I'm using this type of insulation is because I can use multiple sheets, and also if you have a really thin window frame, you can use that type of insulation and you can put in multiple layers because you just can't really fit a big glob of rock wool in one of those smaller frame. Now, if you can build a big frame like me, then you can also use something like rock wool safe and sound, or if you have insulation at home like pink fiberglass insulation, that would also work. And also the drywall that you should use is 5/8 inch drywall. It's a little bit thicker than your regular 1/2 inch drywall and it'll do a better job at soundproofing. Other things that you'll need is a drill, but it's not required, some acoustical sealant, a measuring tape, some screws, drywall screws preferably, and some weather stripping, and some door handles so you can easily take the window frame in and out. Now it's time to build our frame. My window was 34 by 30, so we'll have to cut the pieces a little bit smaller than that so it fits snugly, and being able to add some weather strip all around. So where it's 34 inches, my pieces, both pieces on the top and the bottom will be 33.5 inches, and then the two side pieces will be a little bit smaller than 30 inches. I'll have to deduct about 3/4 of an inch on each sides to be able to fit it in the frame and to be able to then fit it in the window. So each pieces of the 30 inch will be down to 28.5 inch for each pieces to build the frame. Now it's time to grab your drill and drill some pilot holes because it will prevent the wood from splitting. But if you don't have a drill, it's not the end of the world. You will be adding some acoustical caulking around in certain areas, so that would compensate for a little bit of the wood splitting. If you're unsure how to make pilot holes, basically all you do is you get a bit that is around the same size as the screw. And with those pilot holes, the drywall screws should go in quite easily and snugly. And then you can just use a screwdriver to finish the job. Now it's time to grab a sheet of drywall. Hopefully your drywall is in better shape than mine, but at least I have enough good surface area on this piece of drywall to be able to make my window plug. Make sure to measure from the outer edge of your frame for your drywall to make sure that you have enough space to actually be able to screw in the drywall with your drywall screws onto the frame. Now in this demonstration, I am adding 2 layers of drywall. I'll be adding a layer of drywall on the front and also on the back. Now, one thing that I can safely say, this is not necessary, and if you have a window that is quite high, it does add a lot of weight when you're adding a lot of mass onto this window plug. Now that you have your drywall all cut up, it's time to add some acoustical sealant around the frame. where the drywall meets the frame. The reason for this is it just creates a better seal. Acoustical sealant, the difference between this and regular caulking is that it stays rubbery over time. It doesn't dry up and crack, making it useless because you'll be bringing the window plug in and out and the vibrations would just make regular caulking crack. So use acoustical sealant to ensure that it stays rubbery and that it stays sealed. But one thing, this is not glue. Even though some products of acoustical sealant is called green glue, it's not glue. So make sure to still screw your drywall onto your frame. Now it's time to add your mass-loaded vinyl if you have some, or if you have some car sound deadening material, you can also add that. It'll basically have the same type of effect, and it just adds mass and it adds some sound deadening and also some sound blocking because this material is very heavy and very dense. So it does act not only as a sound absorber, but also as a sound blocker, which is what you want with a window plug. You want both. So if you do have some car sound deadening material, use that or use some mass-loaded vinyl. I'll have links in the description below of both so you can decide. If I had mass-loaded vinyl, that would be my first pick. Second pick would be the car deadening material. Now don't forget to add your door handles. You can add it directly onto the drywall if you do have the mass-loaded vinyl or the car sound deadening material already added. So then at least it won't rip off the drywall. You'll have that extra mass. But if you don't have that, or if your window plug is a little bit too heavy for you, then it's better to attach the door handles directly onto the frame. Now for the easy part, all you need to do is cut the... If you have some insulation that is thinner like this one, then it works better because then if your window is not as wide, if you can't make your window plug too wide, then it works because you can just add little pieces. Otherwise, you can add something like rock wool siphon sound or just regular pink insulation would also do just fine. Your last step is to add your weather strip. Weather strip I'm using is just a thin weather strip that I add around doors, a self-adhesive weather strip, and it is a thin weather strip. So you can just double it up if your crack is a little bit too wide between the sides of the window and the window plug. If you see light come through, then take it back off, double up on the weather strip, and you'll be just fine to seal that gap completely. After that, add another layer of acoustical sealant and then your next layer of drywall. If you wanted to add some more sound deadening material onto the drywall, like another layer of mass-loaded vinyl, you can do that. However, as I said, it makes the window plug very heavy. All right, so this window plug will go right up here. And so the window plug fits pretty good. The only thing is I have a little bit of light, as you can see, on each side. That's perfectly fine. The only thing that we'll need is either more of the same weather strip or maybe bigger weather strip, but that's something that you can easily fix. And if you find that your gap is a little bit bigger than that, the measurements didn't turn out well because let's face it, we're not all used to building things like that. Building frames, building window plugs. It's not something we do every day. So if you don't get it perfectly right, that's perfectly fine. Just add some more weather stripping, or if it's really off, then you can just add a blanket or add a towel or a hand towel just to kind of fix that gap so noise doesn't come through. It's pretty easy. If you can see light, then noise will come through. If you can't see any light during the daytime, then you have it perfectly sealed, which is what you're looking for. Hopefully, this will fix your problems if you're trying to sleep during the day and you have a lot of noise coming through. But if you want to go a step further and you want to know more ways on how to soundproof the window, video right there will show you a lot of different ways that are probably more easy than going with the window plug. You might want to start with step 1, 2, 3 of this video and then move on to the window plug if that was not enough. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, assuming that you subscribed.